Hi there, welcome to Island Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Taurus energy. And we're going to do this 10 card spread. And, we're going to see how people are harnessing their Taurus energy. Taurus energy is earth sign energy. Taurus kind of dictates the decisions we all make in our life because it has to do with, it's kind of like the Supreme Court in our head. We live our life, we kind of make all these subconscious decisions in our life about what's right, wrong, just, fair. Take into account our fears, our insecurities, our hopes, our faith, our beliefs, our dreams, and we come up with the Supreme Court decision in our free will nature about the decisions and how we're going to view life. And it's very hard to change our philosophy of life. And Taurus also can be about our want for stability and security and what we view as abundant. It's just, what do we view as abundant? If it's all about me, is that like living the dream and abundant? If it's, I have the money and the status and the image and the power, is that true abundance? And high vibe Taurus is being a spiritual leader in the world, realizing that it's a balance. I want these things of the world, but my loving, intuitive, creative, inspired aspect of the divine that makes me not just an animal or a computer and just about these things of the world. There's more to life than that. And some people are still really struggling with that. Over here we have the Six of Swords. The people who've been illuminated to the truth take action in truth and love and justice and fairness and act with character and integrity. High vibe Taurus energy. And some other people want to keep moving forward with a slightly different idea. This is the overarching reason for the reading that's not showing itself, which is the Queen of Pentacles, which I view as Taurus energy. We can know all these different people in the world, our friends, our family, our brothers, our sisters, etc., co-workers. We don't really know what philosophy of life people have. We don't sometimes really know what their truth is. And the Six of Swords is Aquarius energy. What our dreams are, how we look at life. Do we look at life from a higher perspective, or is it pretty much more about us and the world? And in the Ten of Swords is Gemini energy, and Gemini energy is about our free will. Life's about making these choices. And, eventually it kind of gets down to where we got to pick a path. Some people. Some people can keep going back and forth, but there's people right now in their Taurus energy picking a path. Some of them are going to choose, nope, I'm doing more about me and the world. I don't think love is that important. I get hurt doing love. I maybe don't want to be just and fair. A shadowy Taurus relationship is that if I have more of the things that people want, money, power, status, I'm attractive, whatever, and I get in a relationship with people who really value those things, well, then that means it's a little bit more about me. And I get to be the more privileged person in the relationship, whether I'm male or female. And for other people, they're like, no, that is not my philosophy of life. And I don't think that seems just and fair. And I think it's about love, and what everybody brings to the table is valuable, important. And love, high vibe Gemini, is where, and high vibe Aquarius, moving forward in truth and love, versus shadowy Aquarius, shadowy Gemini, shadowy Taurus. Love is to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. The truth that drives a relationship forward is kind of either one or the other. And we can get in mismatched relationships. Odds are that won't end well, because our truth is different at a core foundational level of our philosophy of life. And some people have seen the truth of that. I can't have my dream come into reality with someone if I'm motivated and inspired by love and I want to work together with people in truth and love and justice and fairness, and we respect each other. High vibe energy is respecting everybody as an individual, their own dreams, aspirations, their own unique talent, skills, and interests. It's not supposed to be just more about me. They have their dreams and aspirations too. And together we work together from love. But for some people, that's not their truth. So, what's going on in Taurus energy? I'm also kind of curious to know what's at the heart of the reading. The Three of Wands, and our fire sign energy of self. What ultimately drives and motivates me, and how do I envision this dream, both the Three of Wands and Aries energy, and the Six of Swords and Aquarius energy? And up here we have the Nine of Cups, which is Pisces energy, and over here we have the Fool card, which is Aries energy, called the Dreamer. It's kind of about, what is this dream for myself? What is my truth? How do I want it to play out? you know? And odds are, the Queen of Pentacles talks about kind of emotionally investing in something and putting kind of in work and effort into those things that are aligned with our truth. So if you're wondering why some people aren't working together with you and moving forward with you in a certain way, right, because that's not their truth. And why is there certain people in the world that you're not investing more time, energy, and effort into? Because their truth is different than your truth, and what they like to invest their time, energy, and effort into, what they could find in the Nine of Cups emotionally fulfilling, what kind of motivates and inspires them, is different than what motivates and inspires you. We all, in the Four of Swords here, have our idea of what we think is just and fair at any stage of life. Some of that could depend on our emotional maturity level. But the Four of Swords in Libra, represented by the scales of justice, can just be, what makes us feel stable and balanced and grounded, and the Nine of Cups, emotionally fulfilled and happy. I'm going to live my life in a way that does that for me. Other people are going to do what they do because it does that for them. And we just need to see the truth. And with most people in our life, it's not a big deal. We all know all sorts of people. They live their life that way. They do this, they do that. They're into this, they're into that. And we can all be looking at each other saying, no way, man. I can't believe you live your life like that. Or, whoa, yeah, I remember when I used to do that. Or whatever. It doesn't matter, because we accept the fact that everybody's kind of in their own little journey in life and living their life the way they want to live it. And with most people, we don't care. It's like, hey, you do you, you know, and it's kind of believing that uh, you know, people have the free will to live their life whatever way they want. That's like high vibe Gemini. You do you, and there'll just be natural consequences that play out from certain ways of living life or behaving, right, and conducting yourself. And so long as people don't mind having some of those consequences if they're negative, hey, I've been there. I maybe did that over and over myself. It's like live and learn. And then the Ten of Swords can talk about closing out a cycle, because we've all went on these journeys in life. We've all had emotional growing and maturing to do. Life is about, in the Dreamer card of the Fool, going on these journeys to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. And initially, for the first 30, 40 years of our life, for some people much longer, but we're really caught up in these things of the world. We want to go indulge in those things that we are sure will make us happy. And we all got our ideas about what that is. And we're all going to live our life the way we think, kind of in our philosophy of life that we think is kind of just and fair, to go do those things that we find emotionally fulfilling. Some people go on those journeys and hopefully while we're on those journeys in life of coming in contact with all these different people in the world to help us get more clear about what our truth is and our truth isn't. Because the Six of Swords moves away from the Five of Swords. We can all move forward in something, but it's trying to get clear. Are we on the same page? And I kind of want to move forward like this, and I kind of look at life from this perspective, and I have this dream. Is your dream kind of on the same page? In the Four of Swords, what you think is just and fair, do I think that's just and fair? Do we seem to get along? And it's different for different people in our life. If it's just a coworker or a community member or a neighborhood person, can we get along okay? You know, can you accept that I might live my life a little differently than you, and I can accept that you live your life a little differently than me? But, can we accept that everybody's different and, still get along? Libra energy, represented by the scales of justice, is treat each other kind of like we like to be treated. I don't have to criticize and condemn and pick you apart. You don't have to criticize me and pick me apart. We accept that there's all sorts of different people in the world, you know, but we can still get along in a just and fair manner. But it's more challenging when it's someone like um, that we really thought would be kind of motivated and inspired to work together with us in a more just and fair way. So, that can definitely be family members. We just kind of would expect that our family members would work together with us that way. And, some are doing the best they can, and same way like us at different stages of our life. We're kind of trying to do the best we could, but we've all been at different stages of life and different emotional maturity levels, and then it can be challenging if it's like a long-term friend or a romantic relationship, because we could have thought we were going to be on the same page forever. And maybe during the course of time, there could have been a lot of things when we kind of got in some friendships and relationships that we equally were inspired by and enjoyed doing, right? And then, kind of as time goes by, and hopefully during the course of that friendship or relationship, in the Four of Swords, hopefully we got a little more balanced within ourselves. And, some of those friendships, especially if we've known them like since we were young, um, again, we're kind of at different stages at different times in our life, but hopefully we all kind of grew up and matured some. And then, sometimes some people come into our life, and they did come into our life for a period of time. But, and again, we can get in friendships and relationships where, um, at a core foundational level, maybe our truth is kind of different. But again, we can hang out with people and enjoy a lot of things together, and maybe be encouraging and supportive people to each other. The Four of Swords comes after the Three of Swords, which can be some pain and heartbreak. And sometimes we can uh, get in community and friendship with certain people because we have similar wounding. Even if it's like, I kind of have low self esteem, me too. I like doing these things. Do you like doing these things? And, then we hang out together. Yeah. Or, hey, I'm kind of wild and party. Hey, me too. And then you hang out together, right? But, or similar past pain and heartbreak. And we can enjoy that friendship and relationship, but sometimes um everybody's kind of healed, and everybody has helped each other work through some of those, that stage of life, or some of those things that kind of brought us together. We could have been nurturing and encouraging people to love and believe in ourselves and believe in our dreams, but then we kind of are ready to move forward in that next phase of life, and that sometimes they're the Seven of Swords, like the Six of Swords as Aquarius energy. it's kind of like, I really enjoyed that phase of life, and we can wish people peace, and that's kind of like the Four Swords. No ill feelings. I wish you peace, but I kind of think the way I want to move forward now, maybe now that we've all kind of completed one phase of life, it's just like, we could just like when we hung out with certain people, maybe in high school, or then we went to college, or we were in a certain job, you know, say, that phase of life comes to an end, and people are kind of thinking about, how they want to move forward in the next phase of life. And sometimes with some of those people, we are going to keep moving forward together. But with some other people, they're ready to move forward in life a little differently. Um, and some people might not be ready to move forward at all. And, maybe some people, the dreamer card's kind of making me think, the Nine of Cups can kind of confusion emotionally, and the dreamer kind of makes me think of feeling a little lost, that some people are a little bit more clear in how they want to move forward, and what their dreams and what they want to do in a coming time period, and other people could be a little bit more up in their head about it and not sure. And so then sometimes some people are like, well, I don't really know, and I'm kind of confused, and well, maybe I'll follow these people. And uh some people could always kind of stay confused about what their truth is, and it's kind of to maybe look at other people and see, well, those people are doing that. Is that what I want to go do? And those people are, we can look at all these different people in the world, and different people that are doing things and what they're doing. And, some people maybe never kind of get clear about what their truth is. And it's always to, and we got to make these decisions in life. Well, out of all these Nine of Cups, kind of like the Seven of Cups, there's lots of options of what I could do. When we choose one option, we don't choose the other option. We have to make these decisions. And some people will be more motivated and inspired by people who seem more balanced, who seem to look at life from a higher perspective, who might seem more stable and grounded within themselves, because that might not necessarily be who they are, but um, they want to look like they're that type of person. So then they might hang out with people who are like that. And there is something about it that draws and attracts them, just that it seems more stable and grounded and mature or something. And other people might be like, um, I think I kind of like the people who are a little bit more about the world or the image or the status, and I want people to view me that way. And so then they could go get in relationships and hang out with some people, because then it would make them look like they're that type of person. And it's all about, in our Gemini nature, that we have to make these decisions. So I would say what's coming across here is there's definitely some people who aren't very clear within themselves about what their truth is, and it's just maybe seeing who will let them move forward with them in some capacity, but they're just still don't really know what their own truth is. And then there's other people who took the time to reflect on the truth. They have this dream. The Seven of Swords can be where the person is like holding the five swords. Again, the five, the six, and the seven are all Aquarius energy. So the five is like, I have a dream. And then in the Two of Swords, I can do this or I can do that. High vibe people have had enough experience to now listen to their intuition and love for themselves, wanting to be more independent, have learned to love themselves, are kind of have learned to temper their own fears and insecurities to be more balanced within themselves, don't want to repeat some old patterns. And part of some of those old patterns was whether they didn't listen to their intuition before. And so now they're more inspired to keep things in perspective, look at life from the big picture. I do want some of these things in the world, but I'm not going to get all caught up in my head because that gets me more caught up in my fear, my insecurity, and uh I probably got 80 years to live. I do want some of these things, but I'm going to be zen and I'm going to maintain balance within myself. So I don't like drive my life off into the ditch. Keep moving forward, high vibe energy and truth and love. Listen to my intuition. Keep looking at life from the higher, bigger picture. Not wanting to repeat some old patterns. And those are people who successfully complete a cycle and a phase of life. Not wanting to repeat some old patterns, dealing with the truth. And some other people want to look like they're doing that too, but they could have dreamed about what they wanted to do. But then when they were kind of thinking about, I could do this, I could do that, I could do love, I could do more me or the world, some of those people just decide, I may be still conflicted, but whatever group I go with, I'm going to tell them that that's my truth too. Even though in their Libra energy of self, they're still kind of undecided. And anybody in their own Libra energy, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are, can kind of be that type of person, maybe kind of like a chameleon. And so it is a little bit of being deceptive and manipulative and just thinking maybe it'll all work out. But if you move forward with people where you kind of, well, I guess just some people are on that journey to learn these lessons, but if they get in relationships with people who are more, well, no, this is my truth or this is my truth, and they're still someone who kind of goes back and forth, it probably won't end well because eventually, whatever truth other people have, that is their truth. That is how they want to move forward. And when other people are kind of waffling, eventually the other people kind of see the truth of it. I don't think this is your truth, or you seem to have, the difference between the Seven of Swords and the Ten of Swords is the Three of Swords, which again is Libra energy, of this conflict between the mind and the heart. Do you want to live more from your mind, or do you want to live life more from your emotionally intuitive, creative, inspired, loving nature? And some people like, I don't know. Well, there's other people in the world who do know their truth. And some of those people could be experiencing some endings right now because some people are tired of moving forward with them when they keep not being sure of what their truth is. Or some people are kind of more immature, kind of more about how it benefits them, have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. And it's all about trying to look maybe victorious or successful in the world. Oh, well, those people look like the more victorious, successful people. I'll go get in a relationship with them. But if they get in relationships with people who are more balanced and inspired by truth and love, and that's not really their truth, they're kind of being deceptive and manipulative, kind of wanting to indulge themselves in a relationship without being more authentic. And then the high vibe people don't want to be in a relationship. And then they might try to get in a relationship with someone who, well, they look victorious and successful. They're kind of more about these things of the world. I don't think that person really is that caught up in it. I think they're maybe more caught up in looking like a shining star and successful in the world. So I'll go get in a relationship with them. But The problem is in a shadowy relationship and a shadowy Taurus relationship is that it isn't based on truth and love, where love is to be just and fair, and you're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. It's kind of like one person wants to be is more about me. And I'm the one who's supposed to be indulged more in this relationship. And when they get in relationships with people like that, they too could be someone who kind of thinks maybe it should be more about them. Again, they could have these illusions about relationships and what they think is just and fair. So then they try to move forward with people like that. Well, those people might kind of want it to be more about them, and then we have this problem where two people kind of want to be the person. Well, no, it's supposed to be more about me, or you're supposed to love me and be more codependent on me. It's like, no, you're supposed to make it more about me, and you're supposed to love me, and you're supposed to make it more about me. And you know you either have to you know okay, well, let's let that go. Let's go look at the rest of the reading. Okay, so what could be going on in Taurus energy right now? We start out with two cards not showing itself. And we have another card. Well, I guess we had all these cards not showing themselves. Some people did or are getting themselves involved in something that they thought would be emotionally fulfilling. And trying to maybe work through, when we're in relationships and we're trying to move something forward, we have all these things that we need to work through, right? Well, what do you think is just and fair? What are your dreams? Maybe the Ten of Swords, we could probably look at what are some of your non-negotiables, and just getting to know each other. And the Four of Swords could be kind of like the getting to know each other phase, and the sevens and the fives are those challenging time periods in relationships where you start a job, friendship, or relationship, it can be going pretty good, and then at the fives we kind of have to think about, do I want to keep moving forward in this? Does this seem right? The other people have to make those decisions. Um and then the sevens, again, are those kind of challenging time periods in a relationship that, again, are we going to keep moving forward in this? And again, if there's been some issues, are we going to be able to work through them or are we not? And if some people had gotten into something, have going to start something, so long as those people harness these energies in the same way and are more inspired in their philosophy of life and have learned that, you know, it isn't supposed to be more about us and us being indulged. It's about being just and fair. And that if we want to move forward in relationships with people who are more just and fair and authentic and loving, we should be that type of person. And we need to detach from these illusions that it should be more about us or us being indulged. And for the people that are in those type of relationships, those people are probably going to work through it because they're both motivated and inspired to work through those things. And there could be love and attraction and all those things there. And they view them as someone they think their dreams could come into reality with. So they're willing to work together in that way. For people who are a little more worldly focused, like to maybe live more from their mind than their heart, a little bit more about being in the relationship and staying in the relationship, that's kind of what motivates and inspires them in their philosophy of life. If they're both on that same page, they might have a little mental conflict that, so you're not going to be like the loving one in the relationship. It's like, no, I like to live more from my mind than my heart. I'm kind of defensive. And you're not going to be the loving one. No, I kind of like to live more from my mind too. And, I like to be in a relationship. I like to enjoy a relationship. I like to indulge in a relationship. But it is that it's kind of more that we're maybe not so connected in with our emotions. We can use them to work together with people, but it's just not a really a deep, meaningful relationship. And if everybody's okay with that, that's kind of my truth. That's kind of your truth. But we do like a lot of similar things. We get along okay. Um, we kind of have similar viewpoints of life, of what kind of drives and motivates us. Let's keep moving forward in that. The bigger problem is for people that are in more mismatched relationships or getting to know someone and they don't know if they harness these energies in the same way. So it can get to be to try to get to know people because we all have our way of living life at any kind of emotional maturity level and stage of life that we're at, right? And of course, we have concluded that is just and fair. So we kind of think that other people think that, but you get a little more life experience under your belt, you kind of realize that no, I've had enough life experience with different people that I know some people can maybe come across as very stable and grounded and emotionally mature. And then I found out they were immature and they were bossy or controlling or egotistical or narcissistic or full of themselves. So, you know, the more high vibe people are getting to know other people, the more they want to um, get to know people. And the swords can be a lot of conversation, getting to know people, taking a risk to get to know people, to get to know them and kind of before you get in a more involved relationship with them about what their truth is. So let's go see what these cards are not showing themselves. We have the Two of Cups and the Three of Swords. And we had the Three of Wands, the Nine of Wands, and the Queen of Pentacles. So, in the Two of Cups, we're kind of looking, whatever viewpoint of life we have, we could be looking for people to be in relationship with, probably because some other relationship in the Three of Swords didn't work out, right? And so we're having to go on this new journey. If a job didn't work out, a friendship, a romantic relationship. Well, and we might not know that about other people that we meet. We don't really know where they're at. And some people currently could be in a relationship right now that's kind of challenging, and we don't know that, right? But we can work together with people and know different people. We don't necessarily know everything that's going on. And, but as we meet people, everybody has their idea of how they want to interact in relationships and what they think is just and fair. Some people are more defensive, some people are more immature, some people are more stubborn, prideful, ego status motivated, like, oh, well, you look like this, or you wear that, or you don't have this economic standing, no. you know, more pretentious or something. And we're just trying, and then other people are more inspired. Some people are still defensive because they're still working through something. Other people have maybe already worked through it. And some things, the difference between the Three of Wands and the Nine of Wands is that they've taken back the Six of Wands. There could have been something in their past that kind of maybe had them in their ego or more defensive nature. There could have been something in their past that they viewed as victorious and successful, because the Six of Wands in Leo energy can talk about that. But some of the people have already kind of worked through it, and they kind of, dealt with the heartbreak. They offered love to it. Um, they were inspired to become independent of it and to work through the mental and emotional confusion of it, to close out that chapter of their life. And maybe while they were doing that work, they weren't interested in getting in relationships with other people because I don't want to get in a relationship with someone else when this still is kind of impacting me the way it is. I want this to be completely closed out. And there can be other people that are listening to their intuition that know people went through something and they're kind of waiting for them to go through that process. I don't want to get in a relationship with you if you haven't done that work within yourself. You know, and we could know people that we could know in the world that we would maybe like to be in a relationship with, but we got to let people work through these things within themselves. And sometimes we're still believing in ourselves, believing in our dreams, listening to our intuition. And it's accepting the truth that everybody is where they're at. And I can't keep staying in something that you know I can always hope. The Five of Swords in the Seven of Swords can be, I can hope that other people can change, but that can take years and decades for people to work through some issues. If you think of some of your own issues, even if it was, say, maybe kind of having a more harsh, critical inner voice or something, how long did it take for that to no longer even be a habit of yours anymore, or where you used to kind of give in to your more immature, self indulgent nature? How long did it take to quit doing that, right? And so, kind of realizing, the only person I can change is me, and I can always hope that other people, friends, family, whoever, that they'll work through their issues. But if I've already kind of distanced myself from some people because I did feel, I don't know, they were hurtful or unkind. Again, they have these illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, maybe a little bit more about themselves, maybe a little immature, maybe kind of defensive, or where I kind of felt wounded in the relationship, is what the Nine of Wands can talk about, and not really thinking it was just and fair. I do want to move forward. And in the Six of Wands, it has the child, the feminine figure, the masculine figure, which can be, the masculine figures can represent how we're taking action in our own life, because that's what the masculine figures can represent, is taking action in the world. And when we take action in the world, we can present ourselves any way we want to. It's considered masculine energy. Sometimes people don't really know how we think and feel. That's kind of represented by the feminine figures. But we stand up for ourself and our own inner child nature of hope and faith and belief. And, if we see that some people keep repeating an old pattern, some people aren't coming towards us to work with us, to and communicate with us, that they want to work together with us in that type of energy. It's not wanting to stay in the shadowy Two of Swords, where we stay in denial of the truth. And I think offering love to yourself in the whole situation is what helps you work through it, so you can accept the truth, get out of your ego about it, stand up for yourself and what you believe in, take action on your truth, and you take action on your truth, and you kind of see what action other people are taking. And if that was their truth, they would take action on that truth. Now, some of them, they might be on the same page as you, but they're in a relationship with other people. And sometimes we meet people and we didn't know if they were in a relationship or not, and they are. Well, we don't let that keep us stuck in our ego, like, oh my gosh, God, my dream can only come into reality with that person. If God thought that way, God can work with people, and then those people, it doesn't work out. Well, God doesn't say, oh my gosh, no, halt. No, we're not doing anything. I needed to be that person. No. All these opportunities of being creative and inspired and intuitive and giving birth to new things and closing out old cycles and growing and maturing yourself, those are available for everybody. And God's kind of like, well, that didn't work. That's sad, but I accept the truth. And there's other people in the world who are looking to move forward and have hope and faith and belief in their dreams and listening to their intuition. I will work with those people. And that's what other high vibe people do too. I can only have my dream come into reality with other people who are working together with me in that energy from that same truth. And that's when we could kind of work through our mental confusion of, we kind of don't want to see the truth, maybe because we had some love for some people. Again, whether it's your adult child, brother, sister, parent, whoever, I really wish they would move forward with me in this way. It's like, but they're not. So keep moving forward in your truth. You can still be a loving and encouraging person in people's lives, but no illusions. I know where you're at or your emotional maturity level or whatever. I don't have any illusions that you've suddenly looked at life any differently or you've grown up and matured yourself in the last week or 3 years or whatever it is, right? I'm going to keep moving forward in my truth. And when you want to work together with me or we're hanging out, so long as we're working together in a more just and fair way. But until some people, it becomes evident that some of those people have put behind them some of these more immature ways of being, you're always going to kind of be a little leery of them. But, hey, we can get together at Christmas. We can hang out. We can have good times together. Uh, I'm talking about people that are more friends. I would say romantic relationships, high vibe people wouldn't get in relationships with people like that anymore. And as some of you are moving forward, you might know some people who had some lessons to learn in life. They really did do this work within themselves to offer love to their past pain and heartbreak, love themselves, become more independent, had to learn to stand up for themselves, had to wrap their brain around this game of life, did have to emotionally grow and mature themselves and heal. And some of those people, just like you might towards some people, other people towards you, might come to tell some people, hey, wait, I learned what I was meant to learn. I don't want this to be over. I closed out that cycle too. Can we be friends? Can we hang out? And other people would maybe willing to get to know them, see what they have to say, listen to their intuition. If they think those people are telling the truth, it's like, yeah, you can come with. We can move forward together, you know, in whatever capacity of relationship seems appropriate. Um, you could be doing that towards people, other people could do that towards you. And if it was a more romantic relationship, some of those people are going to be like, sorry, when you were off doing what you were doing, and you in turn could say this to someone else, sorry, I'm glad you worked through whatever you needed to work through, but when you were doing that, I did move forward with some other people. And, I closed out that cycle before you did. And I kind of had this new beginning. And now I'm working with these people, but I'm happy you healed, So again, some people could tell you that, some other people could tell you that. Now, there are some shadowy people in the world. They are a little bit more about themselves and indulging themselves in relationships. They might be right now trying to hide from some people that they're in relationships with, that they had some loving people in their life who did work together with them in a just and fair way. But that person wanted to move forward to bring a dream into reality that was different than the dream they had for themselves. There could even be some people here. The Queen of Pentacles is the King and Queen of Pentacles are the only marrieds through the deck. There's some people that don't want to get married, and other people do, right? And so we can have met people, it seemed really good in some ways, but one person had this dream of being in a more formal commitment or marriage. The other person wasn't. Some of those people moved on with some other people, closed out that chapter of relationship with them, and moved on with other people. And some people are in relationships right now. And if they're both people who don't want to be in a more formal commitment or marriage, and that is their truth, they have some mental conflict about that idea of relationship in their Taurus energy. If they're both on that same page, they might both keep moving forward in it. If some people are in a relationship right now and one person is hiding that, kind of creating the illusion, oh no, I'm willing to bring that dream into reality, but they're not. That really isn't their truth. Maybe hoping, to be in the relationship, indulge in the relationship for as long as it lasts. Hoping that as long as they're getting along and everything's working out, that the other person will keep staying in it. But, you know, I've been married before about 20 years and got divorced. Um, I can kind of see why people don't want to maybe get married anymore because that can bring out the nasty in some people. Um, but if one person does want a more formal commitment and someone doesn't, the person who doesn't is trying to stop the other person from kind of being more independent from them. Let's just keep doing it this way. And if the other person's like, if you're not willing to do this, then I'm going to leave. Well, some people, even though it's not their truth, could move forward in it anyway. And I don't know if that's going to work out for them because I don't know, it's not their truth. So some high vibe people are making decisions from a place of balance, independence. They've already detached from people in their life who kind of have different dreams, aspirations, their idea of what's just and fair or emotional maturity levels. They've already cut those people out of their life, working with people in their life who they do think are more just and fair, listening to their intuition, believing in themselves, believing in their dreams. Those people are closing out an old cycle, and they and the people in their life are moving forward in life, going to the next phase of life. And while they go to that next phase of life with whoever is in their life, if they're in high vibe energy and truth and love, other people could do the same work just running behind them, where it's like those people already kind of crossed over into that new phase of life, and other people are seeing the truth of it, that I don't want to repeat this old pattern. And you can just be high vibe Aquarius and like all high vibe energy, kind of being a good leader in the world and a good example, being inspired to stand up for yourself, knowing that love is to be just and fair, being balanced within yourself, listening to your intuition versus your fear, loving yourself, believing in yourself. And other people are learning those lessons. And some of you could be a shining light for some other people. And those people are like, yeah, I don't want to repeat this old pattern either. And, I had some mental conflict about it because, again, from the 7 to the 10, I had to work through that 3 of Swords, that conflict I have between my mind and my heart, and kind of maybe focusing on the past, letting past pain and heartbreak manipulate me, indulging myself in my more immature nature, indulging myself in other things or relationships or whatever, me, and to close out this cycle and move forward. And that, of course, high vibe Taurus and high vibe Aquarius wants people to learn lessons in life. Learn the lesson you are meant to learn so you can free yourself and go to that next phase of life of being more authentically yourself, living your more authentic life in truth and love, and being a good example for others. Because that's high vibe Taurus, being a spiritual leader in the world, kind of in that way, by walking the talk. And other people like to present themselves as being like a, not to say you're like a pillar of society, but some people are really caught up in that. Like, well, if I do this and this and this, everybody will view me like a pillar of society and that I've changed and I've healed and I've grown. But some of those people are just creating an illusion. And they could be getting in new jobs, friendships, or relationships, just like, see, well, I must have changed, or this person wouldn't have hired me, or this person wouldn't be my friend, or this person wouldn't be moving forward with me in a relationship. No, those people just bought into the illusion of who you are, just like other people did. And eventually, they'll probably see the truth that you live more from your mind than your heart. You try to confuse people about the truth, deceive people, manipulate people for some reason. You think that's just and fair. You really could be more about yourself or how it benefits you. And other people eventually figure out the truth of it. And some people that are shadowy will move away from a relationship because that relationship was where they just can be more single and indulge themselves. But then I think it's kind of funny the people who think they want to go kind of be a player in the world, male or female, because sometimes they're so caught up in the ego and image and like, like I need to be in a relationship, or because they want to indulge in a relationship, they keep getting themselves caught up in these things that they don't really want to be in. And then if they're still trying to maintain this certain image about themselves, it's kind of hard to keep maintaining that image when they get in these relationships with some of the people who are just and fair, who do want to work together with them to bring a dream into reality, but they really didn't want to bring that dream into reality anyway. It's like, and for some people, because they've done this a couple times, they could really want to end a relationship to go indulge himself. But because shadowy Libra, shadowy Taurus, shadowy Aquarius, I need to have this certain image in the world, and it's really important to me how people view me. And shit, even though I don't want to go, I feel like if I don't go, it'll look bad for my image. So what the hell, I'll go. you know, that would totally be getting in a relationship for a wrong reason. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Taurus energy, who are healing, who are taking some time to think about what their truth is, and if the people they're hanging out with are the people who seem to be on the same page as them, or if they're not. And probably going to go communicate to the people, and the shadowy people too, gonna go communicate to people. The high vibe are communicating with people who they think are more on the same page as them. The shadowy people, it's like, well, whoever it would look good for my ego or my image, or to make me look like a pillar of society or something, or status or image, or who I think will indulge me more. They're all going to try to get someone maybe in a relationship with them. Some other people, it's like, there is nobody here. I'm listening to my intuition, and there only seems to be more shadowy people in my environment. So I'm just going to keep moving on, working on the things as that are part of my dream. But if I'm single and there's not anybody in my environment that seems to be a good candidate, I'm just going to keep moving forward myself. But what's coming up for the high vibe people they don't see coming? The Ace of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Emperor. So the Emperor, like the Fool and the Three of Wands, is Aries energy. You're motivated and inspired to learn these lessons. In tarot, we have the pages, the knights, the kings, the queens, the emperor, the empress. Just learning all these lessons in life. The kings and queens can kind of be where, oh, but my heart is the most important thing and I love them. And the other three aspects of your life kind of go in the toilet. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so defensive, I'm letting my mind run my life. And the other three aspects of your life kind of go in the toilet. High Vibe Emperor is I've learned lessons letting my heart, my mind, my 3D world, my more passionate, creative, or immature nature run my life. And because of all these lessons I've learned, we kind of go out to the edge and like, oh shit, that was too far. That did not work. But hopefully we learn lessons from those things and we get more balanced within ourselves. That all four of these aspects of me are a truth of who I am. I do have my heart, I do have my mind and my intellect and my truth, and I have my worldly nature and my want for some of these things of the world and my creative passion nature, and they're all equally important for me to feel balanced within myself. Emotionally, I need to be nurtured and I want nurturing, loving relationships. And some other people have decided, nope, I don't need that. I think I'll be good. I'm going to live more from my mind than my heart. Well, I think they're going to find out. I mean, I suppose, you know, I just think you can make your life more about you. You can make your life more about like trying to control people. You can make your life more about things. But I kind of think eventually you might realize that you kind of sabotaged yourself and backstabbed yourself because we're emotionally complex human beings. But we are complex and it is confusing, and that's why some people don't want to deal with it. I'll just use my emotions and my sexuality and my body and my looks and my money and my charm and my words. I'll use them all manipulatively to get what I want. And I think they're going to find out that they're deceiving themselves, thinking that they got those lessons learned, just like the rest of us had to learn. But some people have learned those lessons, and they're making good decisions in their life because they wanted this new beginning and they wanted to get to the truth. If I want to heal, I am the answer to my healing. Aries energy is also about the self. I need to invest in myself. And in high vibe, the pentacle are these resources we have to use in the world. And the most important resource we have to give ourselves is love and compassion and forgiveness, and offer it to other people. We're all these fallible human beings trying to learn these lessons, and this game of life isn't easy. And we offer love and truth to it all, to let the past go, forgive ourselves, believe in ourselves, love ourselves, be more independent of our shadow nature, the world, our ego, the past. Get out of our defensive nature, being more about ourselves. Get balance within ourselves, believe in our dreams, don't give up on our dreams. See what we need to detach from. What are the good building blocks to take with and people in our life, and who are the people and things I need to leave behind. And because you were willing to get to the truth, you did. And you're having this new beginning to be able to close out an old chapter in your life. You work through the emotional conflict, the mental conflict, to see my dream can't come into reality with some people because they harness these energies differently and what they think is just and fair. And I think as you move forward in that energy, other people are going to see you as someone everybody knows you could live your life in a much more immature way if you wanted to feel better or to have a certain status or image or blah, blah, blah. And other people see you're not doing that. And there's other people who aren't doing that. And other people see you as someone they would like to be friends with, work with, hire for a job, promote. You're someone who looks at life from a higher perspective like they do. And when you see people who seem to have those ways of being about them, you're going to communicate with those people. And some people could be like, oh, thank God. I was wondering if I was ever going to meet somebody that seemed kind of be on the same page. And yeah, that old cycle's closed. Let's move forward in this. It is nice to be in a relationship with people who are more stable and grounded and emotionally mature. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy that they might not see coming? And that these decisions that you're making in your life, because the Emperor can be about making those decisions, because you keep choosing to act with character and integrity and invest in truth and love, I would say judgment's going to go in your favor. You are on this journey of this new beginning that is in alignment with your truth and your dreams coming into reality. What about people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Taurus energy? Okay, we have the Queen of Pentacles, which again I see as Taurus energy, the Three of Pentacles, and the Seven of Swords. And the reason is because of the Devil. Well, there was some shadowy people that probably had some loving people in their life. But because that requires them to maintain balance within themselves and make good decisions in their life and not be more about themselves or the ego or the image or the money, they could have decided not to move forward with those people. And they thought, hey, looky there. There's a Queen of Pentacles that harnesses this Taurus energy differently, that I think might be more about the world or ego or image, or maybe is heartbroken, or might be caught up in the illusion of me, maybe doesn't know me, maybe, that I think I can get in a relationship with them. Well, that was them being tempted to not choose love and act with character and integrity, and thinking, no, 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 I'm sure it'll all work out. I'll deceive and manipulate people and confuse people about the truth, why I didn't move forward with those people and why I went and did this instead. Well, the Devil is about our more worldly, immature nature and our lust and our greed and our pride and our ego and wanting reward without effort, where we don't have to heal or grow or mature ourselves. And we can go indulge in some things. And the Queen of Pentacles, too, can just be that they decided they wanted to go emotionally indulge more in making their life more about themselves or these things of the world. I don't think love is that important, or, maybe I'll get in a relationship with someone else. And I don't think I have to do that. And I don't think I maybe have to look at life from a higher perspective. I have my way of viewing life that I think is just and fair. It's just that the Devil kind of gets a stranglehold on us, right? Because we think those things are the answer to making us happy. And for some people, it's like, I think it's more about me and I should be indulged, while they get in relationships and, it can get worse and worse and worse. I need to be more indulged. It needs to be more my way. Or if there's things they like to indulge in to make themselves feel better, well, then those things, just like an addiction, they need more and more of it to make them feel better. Some people, though, it's money and materialism and status and image. And, those things become like an addiction. I need more status. I need more image. And, I need people to view me a certain way. And It just kind of consumes them. And the devil doesn't have our best interests at heart. The devil lies. And when we were more tempted in our worldly nature, maybe because we hadn't learned to love and believe in ourselves and haven't healed from some past pain and heartbreak, it's really hard to get yourself out of it. And some of you have already been there and done that. You know how hard it is to get yourself out of some of those things. And it's hard to give up that dream of wanting things to work with people. And the devil looks just like the lover's card, except instead of an angel, it has the devil there, and these people have chains and shackles on them. It's kind of a manipulative love, where people are trying to use the love that you have for them to manipulate you, even when they're not being just and fair or acting with character and integrity. Don't really want you to love and believe in yourself, don't really want you to be more independent. And some people are like, I am done with that, you know? And if your truth isn't to want to work more cooperatively in a more just and fair manner, and just like you did that with some people in your high vibe Seven of Swords, I have a dream, and my intuition is telling me my dream can't come into reality here because you want to keep repeating this pattern and you have this way of viewing life or treating people or some kind of twisted, kind of toxic viewpoint about love, or that it is supposed to be about controlling someone or manipulating someone, or you're just more about the ego or the image and the status and not love. And my intuition is telling me to leave. And there could be some other people dealing with people like that in the world right now who are going to listen to their intuition and leave. And the devil's going to feel backstabbed because the people who don't really invest in truth and love and being more just and fair, who are trying to confuse people about the truth of who they are, but in some way they're kind of shadowy or just superficial or something, it can really bother them because they don't understand. I have, the devil can represent these things of the world. Taurus can represent um, a lot of these things of the world. I have these things of the world. Why aren't people willing to keep staying in a relationship with me? Because they do kind of they turn their back on working cooperatively with people to bring a dream into reality. It's a little bit more about them. And they don't get it. And they don't want to see the truth of it. So odds are they'll just go try to find someone else to go manipulate. Well, like, look, no, I know that didn't work out. And I know that person maybe got in a different relationship, but look at me. I went and got a new job, friendship, or relationship too. And so it's kind of like taking this leap of faith to create an illusion with someone else. And then it's up for those people. And we're all meeting different people all the time who could have be the person who left a relationship or got left in a relationship, and neither one can signify. Immature people take some foolish risks and want to go do that, and then that relationship's over. Other people, eventually the other people can't take it and they leave. So it's not one way or the other is bad if you're the one who left or the other person left, but it's really just to listen to their intuition. And some people are just looking for people who haven't been illuminated to the truth of who they are. Oh, look, that person maybe doesn't know about people like me. I will hide that I've already had loving, just, fair people in my life who had a dream, but I was defensive to emotionally growing up and maturing myself because that meant I had to deal with the truth and I had to heal. And I have mental conflict about dealing with the truth. So I wanted that relationship to end. Either I ended it or I did things to try to get them to leave. And then they go try to find someone else who doesn't know the truth of who they are. And if that person's loving and nurturing and that person is kind of out of balance, it's like, oh, I'm a loving, nurturing person, male or female. But they haven't really learned to stand up for themselves and see the truth that love is to be just and fair. And loving people can get caught in that, where, oh no, the most important thing is love, and I'm going to love this person, they're going to change, and the other person's like, no, I'm not. But as long as you keep thinking so, we'll keep going in a relationship. Works for me. Until the loving people realize, wait a minute, this is kind of unhealthy, and I don't think my dream's ever going to come into reality here. I need to stop this, and I need to move away. Ultimately, the shadowy people, I think, are going, what they don't realize is they're going to end up in relationships with people who are like themselves, because that's just and fair. They might not really want to be in a relationship with someone like themselves, because I think, does the devil want to be surrounded by other little demons? No, the devil wants to get an angel. I want to get someone who's just and fair and loving and nurturing and hopeful and believing, who views me that way too. And then they're not selfish, and they're not bossy, and they're not immature, and they're not manipulative. This is great. The only one being deceptive and manipulative and maybe immature and bossy and controlling is me. That's great. And so I think really that's what they ultimately want. But then when they have people like that in their life, they're not willing to get out of their defensiveness or their immaturity or their ego. And ultimately, I think they end up in a relationship with someone. And because the ego and the image and the status and those things are so important to them, even if they don't want to be in the relationship, even if it's a toxic kind of relationship, because it looks good by worldly standards, they look like shining stars, they'll stay in it anyway, because that has such a hold on them. And those people also aren't requiring them to heal or grow or mature themselves to be something other than they really are. They just might not like it. They might have a hard time admitting to themselves, and they like to view themselves maybe as a more loving, authentic, just, fair person. But they're maybe not. And so, and they also might not want to see the truth of people in their life, how their own egoic nature, defensive nature, self-indulgent nature, immature nature doesn't have their best interest, but they think it does. And then they might have people in their life, friends or family members, that are like, oh no, you should align with us and live life like we do. You shouldn't be more bold and brave and confident. You shouldn't believe in yourself. You shouldn't believe in your dreams. You shouldn't listen to your intuition. You shouldn't become more independent, because none of us did. Oh, and if you go do that, we might be mad at you. And some people are just codependent, and they're not willing to be more independent, which is high vibe energy. And so because they're codependent on the world, their immature nature, their self-indulgent or defensive nature, it all keeps manipulating them. And it will keep manipulating them until they're willing to see the truth. And while they're not seeing the truth, other people in their life see these things that manipulate them, and those things don't manipulate those people. And eventually, though there can be love there, whether they're brother or sister or romantic friend, eventually some of those people are like, you're not who I thought you were, or I didn't realize these things had such a stranglehold on you. But this isn't my truth, and those things or those people or whatever don't manipulate me like that. So I wish you peace. Hope it works out for you, but I'm going to go focus on my life, and you might have to learn lessons the hard way. So there you go, Taurus. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.